The We're Here For You project aims to provide 2S LGBTQ+ youth with community, affirmation, education, and resource sharing.
Hello, my name is Abbey Lee, and my pronouns are she, her, or they, them. I identify as a Lebanese-Canadian, so Arab, queer, pansexual, and non-binary person, and that is a mouthful, but it is okay to either use labels if that's what you want to, or kind of dispense with labels, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable and the most empowered in your identity is the way that you should go. I just want to say to you who's watching right now that you are brave, you are important, and you deserve to be seen exactly as the person that you want to be. And thank you for showing up here today. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to do so, and I'm really proud of you. So I have some questions to go through that I hope will be helpful for you watching today to create a sense of community and support during this time of COVID-19 and beyond as well. What are some of your favorite 2S LGBTQ+ positive TV shows, movies, novels, or songs? I'm a big TV and movie buff, so I'm going to have to go with that one first, but I'm going to move into books after. One of my favorite 2S LGBTQ+ shows is the newer version that came out on Netflix recently is Tales of the City. It's this wonderfully celebratory and vulnerable show featuring intergenerational queer folks who are living in this apartment complex in San Francisco. Features Victor Garber, Laura Linney, and just many other really wonderful actors, some of whom were in the first iteration of the series. To me, it felt like a huge celebration and affirmation of queer culture, and I really loved it for that. The other show that I really thought did a great job of focusing on kind of intersectional queer culture is Dear White People. It follows many different characters, but one of the storylines centers around Lionel, who is a gay black man just starting out university and trying to kind of come into his identity. And he meets a lot of other people in the community that kind of both empower him to find his identity, but then also in some points kind of confuse him because he feels like he doesn't quite relate to them, even though he's part of their community too. So I thought it was a really realistic, often comedic, sometimes cringy depiction of kind of finding your own way into your community. I thought this series is also just really important as a whole as well. I think one of my favorite 2S LGBTQ+ authors is Becky Albertalli, who wrote the Love, Simon series. I've read Love, Simon probably over 5 times. I love the book. It's really wholesome, it's very, very funny, and it's also, it can break your heart a little bit at times, but it does get better. I love that it has a happy ending for the queer characters, and it really just normalizes the experience of being queer and being in high school and just trying to find your way. There's also a companion novel called Leah on the Offbeat that I really enjoyed, and then another one called The Upside of Unrequited, and it featured kind of 2 twins, and in the subplot of the series is both of their moms, and they're an interracial queer couple, which I had never seen represented in books, and so I really enjoyed that series. One more book is Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's this really engaging queer novel featuring the Prince of England and the first son of the United States in an alternate universe where Trump was never president, and instead this main character's mother has been president for the past 4 years. So it's a nice escapist novel, but also a really interesting depiction of 2 people who kind of fall in love, come into their queer identity, all through the political spotlight. So there's quite a lot going on, but I really recommend the book. When your fellow 2S LGBTQ+ community members are struggling, what have you found helpful when it comes to supporting them? I think, honestly, for me, I know when I'm struggling, it helps so much to just have people kind of listen and affirm what I'm going through. Just kind of listening to listen and support, not listening to just respond, is really important. Also, to me, it's really crucial when somebody is struggling. You don't want to kind of take over their negative feelings by immediately jumping to something positive. So if they're telling you something negative or hurtful that has happened to them, it's important to just affirm what they're feeling as valid, because it is, if that's what they're feeling and you're there to support them, it's important not to turn away and be like, oh well, it wasn't that bad, or at least it wasn't something much worse, because that minimizes what they're feeling, and that's not why they're there. They're there to receive that support. And if you feel like you're able to step into that space of support for them, then you're there to validate and you're there to affirm. You don't have to be there to make it better, because a lot of the time we can't. We can just listen and we can support. We don't always understand what people are going through, and that's okay. Just leading from a place of love and asking questions out of support as opposed to out of curiosity, I think is very important. When you're wanting to ask somebody a question, kind of thinking of your intent for why you're asking it, like, okay, am I asking this just because like I'm curious and I want the information, or am I asking them this question because I think when I get the answer I'll be able to better support them? If it's the latter, ask it, but if it's the former, don't ask it and just sit there and listen. What are some resources, both virtual or in person, that you found to be helpful as a 2S LGBTQ plus person? So I haven't really used a lot of, actually any in-person resources for the 2S LGBTQ plus community. I've honestly found LGBT YouthLine really helpful. I applied to volunteer with them just this past May, so when COVID locked everything down, I really wanted to continue to volunteer with the community, and it's been a wonderful way to both really meet a lot of people in the community and also give back. I would wholeheartedly recommend the LGBT YouthLine. Their staff and volunteers come from many different experiences and have a real wide variety of knowledge that I've seen that I think could be so helpful for a lot of youth across Ontario. As the coordinator for this project, the We're Here For You project, I really hope that this project can act as a resource and a source of affirmation and education and support for 2S LGBTQ plus folks, not just in Ontario, but hopefully across Canada and maybe even beyond as well. Can you share with us an example of what you would have liked to hear when sharing your gender, identity, and or sexual orientation with someone for the first time? I think I would have liked to hear, I'm proud of you, or even more than that, like I'm proud of you for sharing your authentic self, like something like that. When I shared my own coming out with my family, they were accepting and kind of took it very like blasé, which I appreciated, of like, oh, okay. And they just kind of went off and were like, okay, now like what's for dinner? And so it was very much like a non-issue, although there were some people in my family that had some questions about it that were a bit hard to answer. Like I was asked if it was like is this a choice, or like why are you just telling us now, like you're in your early 20s, like shouldn't you have known this before? And I didn't really like that, because I'd been asking myself that and trying to figure out like, oh well, am I queer enough, am I part of this community enough? And so to have somebody that you really look up to say that, it can be hard to hear. For those of you who maybe didn't have that positive affirmation or that sort of reaction that you really wanted to hear when you came out, I just want to tell you that I see you. I'm so proud of you for being here watching this and also living as your authentic self. It can be the hardest thing in the world to show up as you are day after day, and you're doing it, and that's absolutely incredible. You are making the world a better and more interesting place for being in it, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you so much for watching this video, and if you're in need of any support for Ontarian 2S LGBTQ plus youth, the LGBT YouthLine is there for you from Sundays to Friday, 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much.